Hello, everybody. This is Michael Hippo, and I am doing this non-instructional intervention overview on human factors, specifically ergonomics. I apologize if my voice is hard to listen to, but I am getting over some sort of sickness. So thank you for bearing with me on that. Just in general, human factors is the practice of designing systems with the main focus being the human perspective of that system. So rather than designing a workplace and then fitting the human into that design, it's about designing a workplace that has the human as the forefront of why they're choosing to make certain decisions. All right. In terms of ergonomics, this is a part of the design that really can end up affecting safety, comfort, performance optimization, and this is all about the environment and the office space or the manufacturing plant, but just the facilities, and those all in turn end up affecting the human experience, and that's what we're going to dive into. So the first thing, those human factors and ergonomics sometimes are used interchangeably, but human factors in terms of the subsection of ergonomics is specifically looking at workplace conditions and how they can influence and affect the workers day to day. So we're going to look at facilities, the way the workspace is organized, equipment, lighting, all things of that nature. Some reasons that this intervention may need to happen could be employee health. Morale and culture in the workplace could be down due to reasons due relating to ergonomics. Any performance or output discrepancies that either tank from previous quarters or just aren't up to par. And then if there's any environmental influences that affect these employees. So, employee health. Especially with workplace safety. We all know that's top priority, and a lack of proper equipment is a big hazard. There's an example at my workplace. So as a teacher, ladders are not allowed in the classroom, but if my projector goes out, I have to either wait on IT to come by with a ladder, or I'm gonna be forced to stand on a table even though they wouldn't allow it because I have a job to do and I don't have time to wait for the ticket to be completed within a week and a half. So that just ends up, unintentionally forcing dangerous conditions rather than keeping a ladder stored in the classroom. So that's an issue. Some other employee health doesn't have to relate with necessarily incidents, but could be discomfort from low quality workstations like an office chair, uh, any kind of workplace. Manufacturing will have their own different things, but if you're a mechanic with certain stools or slide unders for cars, right, you want to make sure that you don't have cheap or equipment that needs to be updated. Um, a workspace that seems intentionally designed and feels effective and organized is one that will help the employee's day-to-day experience feel more impactful. Um, There is a correlation between an organized space and organized and clean output compared just as much as there is with the opposite. Other things with morale and culture, human factors centralizes on designing systems. So infrastructure and offices, if these are human centered in their design strategy, it will show. An intentionally organized workplace is efficient, and that will increase production. And just as importantly, that we didn't talk about was the employee retention. Right, we all want to come back to work every day if the workspace is organized, clean, friendly, productive. Some specific performance discrepancies to look for that may cause a human factors ergonomics intervention could be lack of output after we talked about. Sorry about that. Lack of output could be in manufacturing simply units that are produced. sales that are made. It could also be with certain grades. If we're looking at a classroom, if the classroom is disorganized, that is one of the things that we're actually graded on for our teacher reviews is organization, layout, and how we effectively use our space. Increased errors could be a performance discrepancy. Increased errors in the classroom um, are typically not the biggest deal compared to a plant where you could have somebody, having some serious injury with equipment and leading to hospitalization or anything that could be more fatal. So those are, we want to see a lot of days without an accident in the workplace. And the final one being decision making errors. So this could be in a manufacturing plant, but also with any job. So um, if you're seeing a lot of decision making errors, then what is going on. All right. The next one is about environmental considerations, things that we typically don't really think about, even as people who go to work every single day. But the lighting, temperature, air quality, location, which always can't be helped, but location, noise levels, these all have an impact when considering um, this non-instructional intervention and people wanting to be happy in the workplace. My wife works at Brown and Brown. She worked there. She recently stopped for a little bit because we just had a baby. But Brown and Brown is pictured there at the bottom. The building was beautiful. I'd walk in there all the time. Comfortable, professional. They have security. It's near the water, so she has a view. And then employees are walking around in dress code, so they have, their suit and tie, and they feel valued. They do have high performance output. They're a very successful company. And when you walk in there, it is an updated facility. It's been around for a while, but they are constantly updating furniture, updating some of the layout and reorganizing, and it's just a great place to work. And then architectural layout, which is not always something that that you can handle if there's already a building constructed, but a new construction or expansion, architectural layout can create an environment that has an influence on employee retention, satisfaction, work efficiency, all the things that we've already discussed. So this could include the interior design or the layout of each room. If certain rooms feel cramped or too spacious and you can't optimize the room, that's going to be an issue. And we all know that disorganized environment is not a good place to work. So, some more of these office ergonomic factors is one that I really want to key into since, as a teacher, and just a lot of this ergonomics has to do with office spaces in terms of what I was providing today or presenting. But chairs, desks, document organizers, computers, lighting, exercise breaks. Now, I don't strictly look at office space. I do make comparisons for other fields. So I do look at, manufacturing and the trades as well. But if you look at the chair and desk, the desk layout, so how many drawers that you have, and then if it's L-shaped or how much space is on it is super important. If there's not enough table space or storage for the responsibilities of the job, it can be very frustrating, and obviously it can limit the production. Employee health and comfort is a contributor to employee retention as well. So a comfortable office chair is super important. So to find one that considers your posture, comfort, and then when I say efficiency there, you necessarily don't want to be on a lazy boy, right? We want to make sure that we're in optimal position for wanting to take care of work, but we don't want to just be in a stiff wood chair. It's funny we're talking about this right now. I'm still at work, and I'm not in my normal office chair because I had a guest speaker here today for my classroom, so I'm in this student chair all day, and my back is killing me. So just funny how that lined up. There's recently been a trend of standing desk, so these can be raised and lowered if you want to sit or stand for workflow. This necessarily doesn't have to do with comfort because it is not comfortable to stand for hours, but it more has to do with things that we're going to talk about here in a second, and this is a precursor to talking about exercise. But employee health is important, so if being able to stand up, walk in place while you still answer emails and make phone calls, that is pretty awesome. It lets you take that stretch break. It allows you to get the blood flowing, and yeah, this is a trend that I'm seeing a lot now. My I've seen a boss who has that in their office. Exercise. So, keeping track of your employees' mental and physical health is obviously a massive benefit. There is the obvious ones of your health insurance, but one thing that a lot of companies are starting to integrate is on-site wellness centers. So, um, be able to come into work early, get a workout, or during lunch, and some of them can have showers, so you can go ahead and get right back in your attire. Is really such a big perk. A, because of the cost, and then B, just because of just how busy that life gets. So with traffic and work hours already being pretty long, at least 9 hours most of the time, responsibilities when we get home, to not have to go drive 15 miles out of the way through traffic, go to the gym, maybe shower there, drive 15 miles back out, really saves time and again efficiency. So and then breaks. So we all know most jobs will give, if you're working a full shift, a 30-minute paid break, or a an unpaid hour break if you're on full time. But one thing we don't consider are the small breaks. So corporations and client-based markets with a lot of sales will typically do 1 hour breaks. That way, it leaves time in case you have to take clients out for lunch. It also helps because they typically don't work 8 hour shifts with a 1 hour break. They'll work nine with a 1 hour so they can still have their 8 hours of work. But they could use that hour for exercise. I know a lot of them bike over at Brown and Brown on that hour. And just maybe you just want to sit in your chair, scroll Facebook, and mentally reset. But breaks are important. One break that also aren't typically considered are those small water breaks. Uh, Sorry. The small breaks to the water cooler, to the restroom, to stretch and walk around for a second. Oh, oh. I wasn't lying when I said I had a cold. Oh. This is the third attempt on this. I can't stop the coughing fits, but oh. Just being able to stretch and walk around the room is nice. Oh. Oh. Um, we were just talking about those, but just get a break from a computer screen, get up and stretch, get the blood flowing again. You've probably been sitting in a chair for hours, and just have a mental reset for a minute. Get to socialize. Could be some office chat that you wouldn't have before that ends up helping you out. So you can have a chance to talk to your boss about that email that you sent out and she hasn't responded to, or a coworker with the same scenario. But if we think about ourselves as a motor, I like to compare it to vehicles, water vessels, cars. Boat motors, they need water cooling to prevent overheating. Not the same as like stopping it in neutral and taking a break, but if you're overworking your motors, they're going to have issues. They're going to overheat, and you're not going to get the lifespan out of them. So if you treat your employees with the same care and make sure that they're properly rested, they're taking their breaks, their health as well, there's a very, very, very high chance that you'll retain that employee. And we all know how much employee retention can save a company. So, um, all right. Computers and equipment are also important when we're looking at ergonomics. Without industry standard equipment for the profession, the job will not be retained for very long and won't be sought after. Um, there's a reason that schools that have newer labs and better facilities typically don't have as much issues with keeping employees because they have better funding to have those nice facilities. Um, and teachers want to work with equipment so they can teach. Same with if you're in the trades, if you're welding, if you're an electrician, right? We want to make sure that we have the proper equipment to make the job as easy as possible. Not as easy as in terms of we can be lazy, but as easy as in terms of I have the right tools for the job so I can get the job done and I don't have to fight the tools to do the job. So, lighting. Lighting is super important. I can tell you alone, as a teacher, I started in a room that had no windows, only four brick walls, and it was smaller, and that was not fun. As soon as I moved into this other room that has four giant windows and twice as much space, I said, if you guys kick me out of this room, I'm quitting because I got natural light that comes in here all day. I can take a look outside, you know, Doesn't feel like it's a prison, and get a little bit of sun. It's just so nice. I'm front and center in the school, so it does play a role in terms of just being happy getting through the day, but also for efficiency, for safety. Manufacturing plants obviously need well lit conditions to make sure that they're not making those mistakes that could cause injury. Retail, retail really pays for studies to see what optimal lighting conditions are for shopping and in the dressing room. So there's a lot of fields that this is super important. Um, Most of the time, you want to have well lit areas, obviously, but even for restaurants and retail, they look at optimal lighting conditions to convey atmosphere, mood, and provoke emotions that either want to feel relaxed and feel like you're in a calm place to eat, or feel inclined to shop and spend some money. And when we're talking about lighting, you can consider natural and artificial. The temperature is also super important. The AC has gone out before in my classroom a few times this year, and luckily it was once in the winter. But as we're getting close to the summer right now, if it happens at the moment in Florida, I will be very miserable throughout the day. Now that's just if something happens, but if you look at regulated temperatures, you want them to be comfortable depending on what you're doing. If you're working manual labor, you want to have fans. You want to make sure people are cool. And then the other thing is air quality. Now we can go into air filters and all of that stuff, but just making sure the air quality is safe. And then that's especially true with plants, with manufacturing, with all those chemicals and fumes that can be in the air. You want proper ventilation, proper air quality, and cooling as well. So, with human factors in ergonomics, it is important that we realize it's the practice of human-centered design that improves working conditions, and in turn, employee morale, employee retention, and is really human-centered. So, thank you for listening through this and listening to my squeak toy voice today and my coughing, and I hope you learned something. Thank you.